support, and that is going to be fundamentally important, and that is the big thing for me that's happening this week. So, without further ado, Adrian, it's all yours. And I am going to time you, and you've got 8 minutes, and then you'll get a green card. Or obviously it'd be a red card if it was football, but this is friends of the earth, so you'll get a green card.
This is my introduction or my speech?
Nothing.
Oh, it's already set up.
No, you can introduce yourself, can't you?
Well, my name is Adrian. The reason I'm here is I work for a wind turbine company called Vestas. We're based on the Isle of Wight, and there are 175 of us based on the Isle of Wight, plus people in the supply chain. The reason I've come today is the Isle of Wight is actually key importance to Vestas. We're a large multinational, we're a Danish company. We're the only within Vestas which can design the large offshore turbine blades that are key to the UK market. However, that's not really going to happen unless we get big commitments from the government. It's really quite simple. Unless we have a really strong commitment to say that you have a market in 10, 20 years' time, it's very difficult for us to put up the investment needed to build these factories and to create these jobs. That's the essence of the presentation. That wasn't the presentation. That was I was going to wait for Chucky, who's my target.
What is it? 5 minutes. Are there some other things that you would like to just talk about before? Obviously, we have to recognise that if he gets delayed by 10 minutes, then we're going to, there'll be narrower and narrower things that you have to think about. So is there some general points that you just want to talk about before Chuck, and then when he comes, you can everything at Chuck.
I'll give the speech and then I'll call him at the end. This is the real thing, everyone.
The real deal.
The real deal. So, good afternoon. Thank you, Jane, for inviting me to speak tonight. You've heard my introduction. My name is Adrian Gill, and I work locally for a wind turbine company called Vestas. And you've now heard of us, perhaps you hadn't before. We're actually the world's largest manufacturer of wind turbines. We've installed 50,000 turbines around the world. That's 1/4 of the world's wind turbines. There are 175 of us based on the Isle of Wight. 175 highly trained engineers and technicians, plus more people in our supply chain. And that makes a really big difference to the island's economy. It's one of the more deprived areas in the UK. But it's more than that. The Isle of Wight office is one of only 4 Vestas R&D centres. And as I said in the introduction, it's the only one which can develop the large offshore blades, which are being developed for the UK market. However, the absence of long-term carbon reduction targets from the government is jeopardizing projects like this. This is not political maneuvering. The wind sector already employs about 35,000 people in the UK, people like me, whose livelihoods demand that we need a low-carbon economy. We understand how important it is for the government to show its commitment. And that's why I'm here. I'm not actually a lobbyist. I'm not a professional PR person. I'm actually just an engineer. I design wings for a living. And to tell the truth, I'm not used to speaking to big groups like this. However, when I was phoned up, I accepted to speak today because the UK is about to embark on energy policy that if it gets it wrong, I will be paying for the rest of my life. I also value the clean environment we have in this country. I don't know how many people here have been to Beijing, but the air pollution in Beijing is intolerable. The UK is at an energy crossroads right now, and we actually have a choice. My opinion is that we must not choose an energy policy that pollutes our air, that contaminates our water table, or takes 10,000 years to become safe. This is our country and our choice. When the current government came to power, they promised to be the greenest government ever. As we embark on new energy policy, now is the time for the coalition to really show whether they meant it or not by making a clear commitment for a low-carbon economy. Not giving that commitment risks the UK being locked into a high-carbon world. This means higher emissions, and that means climate change. And because of volatility in gas prices, that actually means higher bills too. I'm not sure everyone understands that. This afternoon, I hope to show you that wind energy is a cost-effective and a competitive and a much-needed part of that low-carbon economy. John Hayes, the former Conservative Energy Minister, frequently states that wind turbines do not work. This really puzzles me, actually. He doesn't operate wind turbines. On what evidence does he base this statement? Imagine if someone came up to you and said, the car or bike or train that got you here tonight doesn't work. I prohibit you from using it. You might be pretty annoyed. This person has never driven your car. These statements are based purely on a conservative ideology. It is because they do not like your car. But the fact is, we're the ones in possession of the evidence. And we should speak up and say, this isn't how it is. Wind turbines are no different. Of those 50,000 wind turbines that we've installed, 25,000 of them are directly monitored by Vestas. At any time of day, I can check how much power these wind turbines are generating. More significantly, when Vestas sells a wind turbine, it makes a promise that they will perform as designed. And if they don't, we have to compensate the customer for any lost earnings. I assure you, if wind turbines didn't work, we'd know about it. There are other myths that need debunking. I frequently hear that wind turbines emit more carbon than they displace. This is incorrect. A wind turbine pays back all the carbon emitted in the manufacture, in the installation, and in the concrete foundation in 6 to 9 months. The next 19 plus years are carbon free. After that, the landscape is restored to its former state, and the turbine more than 80% recycled. I also hear that wind turbines need backup power, that wind is too intermittently useful. This is also incorrect. In the UK, we get a lot of electricity from coal. Another 30% comes from gas. In fact, we used more coal last year than we have done since 1996. Wind produced 6%. But when it's windier, this increases. In fact, last weekend, nearly 20% of the UK's power came from wind energy. And this 20% meant that 20% did not come from fossil fuels. Simply put, when there are wind turbines in the grid, you burn less coal and less gas, and this means fewer emissions. It's almost a one-to-one relationship. It's also said that wind is unreliable. If true, this would show up in high balancing costs, which the National Grid regularly publish. Between April 2011 and September 2012, wind turbines generated 24,000 gigawatt hours of electricity. In that same period, only 22 gigawatt hours of fossil fuels were needed to fill the gaps in the demand. That's less than 1,000th of the turbine's output. And quite importantly, less than 1/10 was what was needed to back up conventional power stations. Wind turbines need less backup than conventional power stations. I want you to take that home with you. In fact, if you look at the facts, wind turbines are as reliable, if not more, than conventional power stations. And a lot of countries are taking advantage of this. Last weekend, when we were getting 20% of our power from wind, Ireland was getting 40%, and Denmark was getting 50%. Wind is already working. In fact, last winter, Spain got more electricity from wind than any other source. So wind works, but can we afford it? The answer is actually yes. In fact, onshore wind is one of the cheapest ways to generate electricity. Surprised? Don't be. To check this, all we need is a level playing field. And Brazil is one. The way electricity projects work in Brazil is known as a reverse auction. The grid initially sets a high price for electricity and then progressively drops the price. As the price drops, suppliers who can't compete drop out until only one is left. At last year's auctions, wind was the last one in 10 out of 12 times and won the projects. It's the same story elsewhere. Why does Texas have more wind energy than any other state? It's because it's a deregulated market. Why does China, a country without Kyoto targets, invest $20 billion in wind energy every year? It's because China needs clean, cheap energy. The UK also needs clean, cheap energy. The UK government has modeled various different options for future power markets. In every single one, even those with optimistically low fossil fuel prices, the price of energy will go up in the future. Everyone except one. With high levels of offshore wind, we actually see prices dropping in 10 years' time. So on a level playing field, wind is very competitive. The problem is, it isn't a level playing field. In 2011, according to the International Energy Agency, fossil fuels around the world received $500 billion in subsidy. The year before, it was $400 billion. This is very hard to compete against. The UK is not different. The Chancellor recently awarded £500 million to North Sea gas, and a 50% tax cut for fracking. Incidentally, one of the proposed areas for fracking is the Wessex Basin, just around the corner. The choice is ours. And nuclear. The simple truth is that subsidy-free nuclear does not exist. Subsidy-free nuclear means subsidies concealed in elevated strike prices and government underwriting of risk. Hinkley Point C alone, just one single nuclear power station, is projected to consume as much as £40 billion in subsidy over its lifetime. Again, the choice is ours. So what can we do? This is where government commitment is needed. The UK is a very windy country. Wind energy in the UK makes a lot of sense. But businesses like mine will only invest in the new technologies and the new factories required to deliver meaningful emissions reductions if we know there's a long-term market for our products. We can't compete otherwise. We're in this for the long haul. And what Vestas wants, and what other companies want, is a clear signal about the direction of energy policy after 2020. And let's be clear, absolutely clear about this. The wind industry is not looking for indefinite subsidies. All the industry asks for is a level playing field and a clear commitment from government towards a carbon reduction target. We're at a crossroads now. I hope that I've shown you that wind energy is a truly competitive technology that brings benefits, both environmental and financial, to energy consumers. However, the investment needed for this will only happen if there are ambitious long-term carbon reduction targets in the energy bill. And I say again, it is imperative that this happens. So to you all, this is our country and our environment. Be vocal about the importance of energy. Let your MP know what's at stake. You, all of you, can make a difference. And Chuka, I say this for you.
I don't know what you're going to say.
We read it off my cue. The Labour Party actually has a really important role to play. Before and after the next election, Labour's commitment to the 2030 EU renewables target and the 2030 UK decarbonisation target is welcome. However, for these actually to make a difference, they need to become a law. And this is something worth fighting for. Your constituents and your party will remember you for you do that. Thanks very much.